Welcome to uCertify CompTIA Network Plus Must-Know Glossary Terms.
Term, 2.4 GHz. Definition, the radio frequency band used by Wi-Fi networks for wireless communication, known for its longer range and better penetration through obstacles, but susceptible to interference from other devices operating in the same frequency.
Term, 5 GHz. Definition, the radio frequency band used for wireless networking that offers higher data rates and less interference compared to the 2.4 GHz band due to its broader spectrum and more non-overlapping channels.
Term, 6 GHz. Definition, the frequency ranges from 5.925 GHz to 7.125 GHz, offering additional spectrum for Wi-Fi networks to reduce congestion and improve performance. Term, 802.11 standards. Definition, a set of protocols developed by the IEEE for implementing wireless local area network, WLAN, communication in various frequency bands, including specifications for speed, range, and encryption.
Term, 802.11h. Definition, 802.11h is an amendment to the IEEE 802.1 standard that provides enhancements for spectrum and transmit power management in the 5 GHz band, primarily to ensure compliance with European regulatory requirements.
Term, 802.1q tagging. Definition, a networking standard that adds a 4-byte tag to Ethernet frames to identify and manage traffic within multiple VLANs on a single physical network.
Term, 802.1x. Definition, a type of network access control, NAC, that can permit or deny a wireless or wired LAN client access to a network. If IEEE 802.1x is used to permit access to a LAN via a switch port, then IEEE 802.1x is being used for port security.
Term, 802.3 standards. Definition, a collection of protocols developed by the IEEE that defines the physical and data link layers for wired Ethernet networks, including specifications for MAC access control, MAC, transmission speeds, and network topologies.
Term, AAA record. Definition, a DNS record that maps a domain name to its corresponding IPv6 address, allowing devices to locate and connect to the domain over an IPv6 network.
Term, access control list, ACL. Definition, rules typically applied to router interfaces to specify permitted and denied traffic.
Term, access layer. Definition, a layer in the 3-tier hierarchical network design that is concerned with permitting end users fast and secure access to the network.
Term, access point, AP. Definition, in wireless networks, a device that permits wireless clients to access the network. Access points tend to fall into two categories, lightweight and autonomous. A lightweight AP cannot perform control plane functions and requires a wireless LAN controller, WLC, for the control plane. An autonomous AP does not require a WLC.
Term, active-active. Definition, a configuration where two or more systems or network devices are simultaneously online and sharing the load, providing redundancy and improving performance by ensuring that all components are actively participating in processing tasks. Term, active-passive. Definition, a configuration where one system or network device is actively handling tasks while a secondary system remains on standby, ready to take over if the active system fails, ensuring redundancy and high availability. Term, ad hoc. Definition, a peer-to-peer network configuration where devices communicate directly with each other without relying on a central access point. Term, ad hoc network discovery. Definition, the process of performing network discovery when initiated by a network administrator based on some network event of perceived need. Term, address, A. Definition, a DNS record that maps a hostname to an IPv4 address. Term, address resolution protocol, ARP. Poisoning. Definition, A network attack where an attacker sends falsified ARP messages to associate their MAC address with the IP address of a legitimate device, enabling them to intercept, modify, or disrupt network traffic.
Term: Administrative Distance, AD. Definition: a routing protocol's index of believability. Routing protocols with a smaller AD are considered more believable than routing protocols with a higher AD. Term: Administratively down. Definition: the state of a network interface or device that has been manually disabled or turned off by an administrator, typically through software configuration, rather than due to a technical fault or failure. Term: Anomaly alerting. Definition: a process in network management and cybersecurity where automated systems detect and flag unusual patterns or behaviors that deviate from normal operations, indicating potential issues or threats.
Term: Antenna. Definition: a device that transmits or receives electromagnetic waves for communication purposes. Term: Anycast. Definition: a communication that has a one-to-nearest, from the perspective of a router's routing table, flow. Term: Application awareness. Definition: the capability of a network to identify, prioritize, and optimize traffic for specific applications, enhancing performance and efficiency based on application-specific requirements. Application awareness is a significant feature of software-defined networking, SD-WAN. Term: Application layer, OSI model. Definition: Layer 7 of the OSI model. This top layer of the model provides applications access to network services. Term: Application layer, TCP/IP stack. Definition: the topmost layer of the TCP/IP model, which provides protocols and services for end-user applications to communicate over the network, facilitating data exchange directly with software applications. Term: Application Programming Interface, API. Definition: a set of rules and protocols that allows different software applications to communicate and interact with each other. Term: Application Programming Interface, API, integration. Definition: the process of connecting different software systems and devices using APIs to enable automated, seamless communication and control across the network infrastructure. Term: ARP. Definition: a command that can be used in either a Microsoft Windows or Unix environment to see which Layer 2 MAC addresses correspond to Layer 3 IP addresses. Term: ARP spoofing. Definition: an attack that involves falsifying a Layer 2 MAC address in order to bypass simple MAC-based security mechanisms, such as port security. Term: Asset inventory. Definition: a comprehensive record or database containing detailed information about all hardware, software, and resources within an organization's IT infrastructure. Term: Attenuation. Definition: the weakening of a signal as a result of distance between two network devices. Term: Authentication. Definition: the process of verifying the identity of a user, system, or entity to ensure that it is who or what it claims to be. Term: Authentication Header, AH. Definition: an IPsec protocol that provides authentication and integrity services but does not provide encryption services. Term: Authoritative Name Server. Definition: a DNS server that holds and provides the definitive, original records for a specific domain, responding to queries with accurate and authoritative information. Term: Authorization. Definition: in a network, a definition of what users are permitted to do. Note that authorization often follows an authentication phase. Term: Automatic Private IP Addressing, APIPA. Definition: a feature that allows a networked device to self-assign an IP address from the 169.254.0.0/16 network. Note that this address is usable only on the device's local subnet, meaning that the IP address is not routable. Term: Automation. Definition: the automated completion of a task or tasks. Term: Autonomous access point. Definition: a standalone Wi-Fi device that independently handles all wireless networking functions, including management, configuration, and data traffic, without relying on a central controller.
Term: availability monitoring. Definition: the process of continuously checking the uptime and accessibility of systems, applications, or services to ensure they are operational and reachable for users.
Term: backup configurations. Definition: a duplicate or copy of the production configuration that is stored securely, serving as a contingency measure to restore operational settings in case of failures, data loss, or necessary rollbacks within an IT infrastructure.
Term: band steering. Definition: a technique used in Wi-Fi networks to automatically guide dual-band client devices to connect to the less congested and higher performance 5 GHz band instead of the 2.4 GHz band.
Term: bandwidth. The measure of network throughput possible on network media or a network path.
Term: baseline metrics. Definition: initial measurements used to establish a reference point for comparing future performance or progress.
Term: baseline golden configuration. Definition: a predefined and standardized template or ideal state of configuration settings for hardware, software, or network devices, used as a reference to ensure consistency, security, and compliance across an organization's IT environment.
Term: basic service set identifier, BSSID. Definition: a unique 48-bit identifier, usually the MAC address of the access point's radio, that distinguishes each wireless access point in a Wi-Fi network. Term: bayonet Neal Consolman, BNC, a type of coaxial connector commonly used for radio frequency signals, characterized by its quick connect and disconnect bayonet mount mechanism. Term: border gateway protocol, BGP. A path vector routing protocol that can use as its metric the number of autonomous system hops that must be transited to reach a destination network, as opposed to the number of required router hops. BGP is the only exterior gateway protocol, EGP, in widespread use today, and it is considered to be the routing protocol that runs the Internet.
Term: bottleneck. Definition: a point in the network where the data flow is significantly restricted, causing a slowdown in overall network performance.
Term: bottom-to-top troubleshooting. Definition: a troubleshooting methodology in which the engineer starts at the physical layer of the OSI model and works up the stack, trying to determine the problem. Term: branching. Definition: the practice of creating separate lines of development within a project, allowing parallel work on different features or fixes without affecting the main codebase. Term: bring your own device, BYOD. Definition: a policy that specifies the types of permitted devices, security, data, and applications, as well as offloading procedures when an employee leaves a company. Term: broadcast. Definition: traffic that travels from a single source to all destinations on a network, that is, a broadcast domain. Term: bug fixes. Definition: specific changes made to software to correct errors and improve stability and performance. Term: cable map. Definition: a visual or diagrammatic representation detailing the physical connections and layouts of cables within a network infrastructure. Term: cable speeds. Definition: the data transfer rates achievable over coaxial cable networks, commonly used for Internet access, which can vary based on the technology and network infrastructure, with typical speeds ranging from several megabits per second to gigabits per second. Term: cable tester. Definition: a tool that can check the conductors in an Ethernet cable. It contains 2 parts. By connecting these parts of the cable tester to each end of a cable under test, it is possible to check the wires in the cable for continuity. That is, check to make sure that there are no opens or breaks in a conductor. In addition, it is possible to verify an RJ45 connector's pinouts, which are wires connected to the appropriate pins on an RJ. Term: camera. Definition:
a device that permits the viewing of key network areas using video surveillance. Video footage is often recorded and stored locally or in the cloud. Modern camera systems have been combined with more advanced intelligence and even have the ability to detect weapons and other threats. Term: Canonical Name Record, CNAME. Definition: a DNS record that aliases an existing record, thus allowing multiple DNS records to map to the same IP address. Term: Captive Portal. Definition: typically a web page designed to collect the username and password of a user trying to gain access to a network or an application. Such a portal might require the user to agree to an acceptable use policy, AUP. Term: Cellular. Definition: a wireless communication technology that uses a network of distributed cell sites, or base stations, to provide mobile connectivity and enable devices to communicate over long distances through radio waves. Term: Central Policy Management. Definition: a feature of the SD-WAN architecture that provides a unified platform for defining and enforcing network policies across all connected devices and locations. Term: Central Repository. Definition: in a source control system, acts as the single source of truth for all infrastructure code. This repository stores the master copies of the code and provides a central location where all team members can access, contribute to, and collaborate on the infrastructure codebase. Term: Certificates. Definition: digital documents that use cryptographic techniques to validate the identity of entities and secure communications over networks by binding a public key to the identity of an individual, organization, or device. Term: Change Management. Definition: in networking, careful planning and policy creation to accommodate thoughtful and warranted changes to the network infrastructure and configurations. Term: Channel Overlap. Definition: a wireless issue in the 2.4 GHz band that causes interference. In order to avoid this issue, adjacent WLAN segments should be placed on non-overlapping channels, that is, channels 1, 6, and 11 in the 2.4 GHz band. Notice channel overlap is not an issue in the 5 GHz band. Term: Channel Width. Definition: in Wi-Fi networks, the bandwidth or frequency range used by the wireless signal, which affects data transmission speed and the potential for interference. Term: Cisco Discovery Protocol, CDP. Definition: a Cisco proprietary protocol that enables network devices to discover information about directly connected Cisco equipment. Term: Class A. Definition: used for very large networks. They have a default subnet mask of 255.0.0.0, with the first octet representing the network portion. Term: Class B. Definition: used for medium-sized networks. They have a default subnet mask of 255.255.0.0, with the first two octets representing the network portion. Term: Class C. Definition: used for small networks. They have a default subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, with the first three octets representing the network portion. Term: Class D. Definition: reserved for multitask groups, enabling the delivery of data to multiple destinations simultaneously. They do not have a subnet mask. Term: Class E. Definition: reserved for experimental purposes and are not used in general network operations. Term: Classless Interdomain Routing, CIDR. Definition: a process that involves shortening a classful subnet mask by removing right-justified ones from a classful mask. As a result, CIDR allows contiguous classful networks to be aggregated. This process is sometimes called route aggregation. Term: Client disassociation. Definition: the process of intentionally or unintentionally disconnecting a connected device, or client, from a network or access point. Term: Client-to-site VPN. Definition: also known as a remote access VPN, a virtual private network that interconnects a remote user with a site. The remote user is typically using a broadband internet connection,
and software running in the OS that configures and maintains the VPN connection. Term: clientless VPN. Definition: a virtual private network that has a client software piece that is not a separate piece of software. In this arrangement, the client's web browser acts as the VPN client software. This type of VPN connection leverages the SSL/TLS capabilities of the modern internet and web browsers in order to provide a secure connection. Term: cloud gateway. Definition: a network service or device that acts as an intermediary, facilitating secure data transfer between an organization's on-premises infrastructure and cloud services.
Term: coaxial RG6. Definition: a network cable that is composed of two conductors. One of the conductors is an inner insulated conductor. This inner conductor is surrounded by another conductor. This second conductor is sometimes made of a metallic foil or woven wire. RG6 is used to distribute HDTV signals in a home or office. RG6QS uses quad shielding for better signal quality over long runs, also known as coax.
Term: cold site. Definition: a bare-bones redundant site for a network that requires time and effort to bring online. Term: collapsed core design. Definition: a network architecture where the core and distribution layers are combined into a single layer to simplify the network, reduce costs, and enhance performance in smaller or less complex environments. Term: community cloud. Definition: cloud services used by individuals, companies, or entities with similar interests. The community cloud is typically a partnership between many different cloud vendors or organizations. Term: community string. Definition: a clear text string that serves as a password in SNMP and determines the type of access, read-only or read-write, permitted for network monitoring and management. Term: compliance. Definition: ensures that infrastructure configurations adhere to predefined standards and policies, maintaining consistency and security across systems. Term: confidentiality, integrity, and availability, CIA. Definition: a security principle that helps in securing a network. It entails using confidentiality, often using encryption, integrity, often using hashing algorithms, and availability, with a wide variety of security mechanisms. Term: configuration drift. Definition: occurs when the actual state of the infrastructure deviates from the desired state defined in IAC. This drift can happen due to manual changes, system updates, or environmental factors. Term: configuration management. Definition: the systematic process of maintaining and controlling the settings, specifications, and configurations of hardware, software, and network devices to ensure consistency, security, and optimal performance throughout their lifecycle. Term: configuration monitoring. Definition: the continuous oversight and tracking of system and network settings to ensure compliance, detect unauthorized changes, and maintain optimal performance and security. Term: conflict identification. Definition: the process of detecting changes made to the same lines of code by different contributors, requiring manual resolution to ensure consistency and correctness. Conflict identification is an essential feature of source control systems, especially in collaborative IAC environments, where multiple team members may work on the same code simultaneously. Term: congestion. Definition: a state where network traffic exceeds the available bandwidth, leading to delays, packet loss, and reduced quality of service. Term: connection-oriented. Definition: refers to transport protocols that provide reliable transport, in that if a segment is dropped, the sender can detect that drop and retransmit the dropped segment. Specifically, a receiver acknowledges segments that it receives. Based on those acknowledgments, a sender can determine which segments were successfully received. Term: connectionless. Definition: refers to transport protocols that are sent unreliably. There is no session created in which flow control and error checking types of behaviors take place. UDP is the connectionless transport protocol of the transport layer of the OSI model.
Term, console. Definition, a physical interface on a network device that allows direct access for configuration and management, typically using a serial connection. Term, content delivery network. Definition, a geographically distributed network of servers designed to deliver web content and digital media to users more efficiently by reducing latency and offloading traffic from the origin server. Term, content filtering. Definition, monitors and controls data transmitted over a network, blocking or allowing content based on set criteria to protect users and enforce policies. Term, contention. Occurs when multiple devices or applications simultaneously compete for the same network resources, leading to potential delays and reduced performance. Term, core layer. Definition, a layer in the three-layer network design that is concerned with speed. This layer can be responsible for moving massive amounts of data in an enterprise network. Term, crosstalk. Definition, the unwanted transfer of signals between communication channels, causing interference and signal degradation. Term, current state modulation. Definition, a way to electrically or optically represent binary digits by using a binary 1 for the presence of voltage on a copper cable or the presence of light on a fiber optic cable, and using a binary 0 for the absence of light or voltage. Term, cyclic redundancy check. Definition, a mathematical algorithm that is executed on a data string by both the sender and the receiver of the data string. If the calculated CRC values match, the receiver can conclude that the data string was not corrupted during transmission.
Thank you for watching. Learn more with uCertify.